Will try to read them, control them, outsmart them, but somehow it never works. No matter how clever the manipulation, the INFJ sees straight through it. It's not arrogance, it's awareness. They've spent a lifetime studying emotions, motives, and hidden meanings. You can't manipulate someone who already understands why you're doing it. INFJs are calm, soft-spoken, and empathetic. And that's exactly what makes people underestimate them. But behind that gentleness lies one of the sharpest intuitions you'll ever meet. They notice the patterns, the tone shifts, the inconsistencies between what's said and what's felt. While most people react to manipulation, INFJs observe it. They don't confront, they decode. And by the time someone's trying to play them, the INFJ already knows the ending. What makes them unmanipulable isn't that they're cold, it's that they're emotionally fluent. They've felt every trick before. Every guilt trip, every flattery, every subtle attempt to twist truth, they've lived through it. They know how emotional control works, and they refuse to give that power away again. That's why manipulators hate them, because kindness without weakness confuses control. The INFJ doesn't fight with noise, they disarm with silence. They don't expose you, they see you. And that quiet, knowing energy is the one thing a manipulator can't stand, being seen without power. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to Brainy One, where we explore the deep psychology, emotional intelligence, and silent strength behind INFJ minds. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever sensed someone's hidden motives before they said a word? Comment unshakable intuition below if you've ever realized that your empathy isn't a weakness, it's your greatest defense. They sense emotional shifts before words even form. They don't wait for someone to speak, they feel it first. The change in tone, the sudden pause, the flicker in the eyes that others miss. To an INFJ, emotions are languages that don't need translation. Long before a manipulator says the right words, the INFJ already feels the wrong energy. It's not guessing, it's intuition sharpened through years of observation and empathy. They walk into a room and sense tension like a sixth sense. The subtle drop in warmth, the forced laugh, the energy that feels slightly off. While others get caught in words, INFJs read undercurrents. They don't just notice what's said, they notice what isn't. That's what makes them so difficult to manipulate. Their awareness lives between the lines. People try to mask intentions with charm or emotion, but energy never lies. The INFJ senses the emotional temperature shift before the first move is even made. They might smile back, stay kind, and act as though they don't see, but they always do. They collect these small emotional details like data points until the full truth forms effortlessly in their mind. Their intuition doesn't shout, it whispers. A quiet, knowing voice that says, something's off, and they trust it. They've learned that every time they ignored that inner signal, they paid the price. So now they don't question it. If an emotion feels mismatched with the words, they step back, calmly, silently, no confrontation, no drama, just distance. Manipulators hate that kind of awareness. They can't twist perception when someone already sees the motive behind the mask. They can't bait a reaction from someone who senses their intention before they act. That's the quiet power of the INFJ, emotional radar so sharp it catches truth before deception even forms. They don't need proof to know when something's wrong. They can feel it in the air, in the silence, in the smallest shift of energy. And that's why the INFJ can't be easily played, because while others hear words, they read souls. They read intentions, not appearances, and motives can't hide from intuition. An INFJ doesn't fall for how someone looks or what they say. They tune into what they mean. While most people get lost in charm, titles, or smiles, the INFJ is quietly scanning for something deeper, intention. Every glance, every tone, every pause tells them more than any explanation ever could. You can fake kindness with words, but you can't fake energy. And that's what the INFJ reads effortlessly. They don't chase impressions, they observe patterns. When someone's actions and words don't align, the disconnect is deafening to them. They feel it immediately. The too eager compliment that hides envy, the sudden interest that masks an agenda, the sweet tone that doesn't match the eyes. Most people would miss it. The INFJ doesn't, because their intuition isn't based on logic alone. It's emotional pattern recognition. Manipulators hate this. They build their power on illusion, but the INFJ sees straight through it, not because they're cynical, but because they understand human nature. They've studied people for years, quietly, patiently. They know that appearances can be polished, lies, and true motives often hide behind practiced expressions. So while others fall for presentation, the INFJ waits for proof. They don't rush to label or judge, they just notice. And once they've seen enough, the illusion collapses quietly. No confrontation, no argument, just awareness. They withdraw emotionally, even while smiling on the outside. It's subtle, but powerful, because by the time someone realizes the INFJ has figured them out, it's already too late. Their intuition works like X-ray vision. It doesn't stop at the surface. It sees through pretension right into intent. You can wear the right mask, but you can't hide the feeling behind it. And that's what makes them untouchable. Their insight isn't loud or dramatic. It's calm, surgical, precise. To most people, the INFJ's awareness feels mysterious, almost psychic. But to them, it's just connection without illusion. They don't see what you show, they see what you emit. And that's why motives can't hide. Because in a world full of actors, the INFJ isn't watching the performance, they're reading the script underneath. They stay calm when others try to provoke reactions. When someone tries to trigger them, the INFJ doesn't fight back, they observe. While others raise their voice, they lower their energy. That calm isn't passive, it's power under control. Manipulators depend on chaos, they want you emotional, defensive, and distracted. But the INFJ learned long ago that the moment you react, you hand over your peace. So instead, they do what fake people fear most. They stay still. You can insult them, question them, even twist their words, but they won't give you what you want. Their silence becomes uncomfortable, their stillness unnerving. It's not that they don't feel, they feel deeply. They just refuse to let emotion control them. While you're trying to ignite a fire, they're studying the spark, reading your tone, measuring your intent. Their calm becomes their shield. It's a quiet psychological strength that throws manipulators off balance because manipulation needs reaction to survive. Without it, it collapses. The INFJ's restraint exposes that instantly. They understand emotional bait when they see it, and they don't bite. Every time they choose peace over reaction, they take back control. That's why arguments with them rarely go anywhere. They refuse to feed drama with energy. People often mistake their calm for indifference, but it's actually strategy. They know that power isn't in speaking louder, it's in seeing clearer. And clarity comes from composure. When others lose control, the INFJ gains insight. They can see the hidden motive behind every outburst, the insecurity, the guilt, the need for dominance. By staying calm, they let the truth reveal itself. And when they finally do speak, it cuts deeper than any argument could. A few soft, measured words, and the manipulator suddenly feels small, exposed, and powerless. Because the INFJ's calm isn't absence of emotion, it's emotional mastery. That's what makes them unmanipulable. You can't control someone who refuses to fight your way. You can't shake someone who's grounded in silence. Their peace isn't weakness, it's precision. And in a world that thrives on reaction, the INFJ's calm is the loudest power of all. They recognize manipulation patterns because they've survived them before. INFJs don't just understand manipulation, they remember it. They've lived through it, felt its sting, and studied every move of it until it became familiar. The guilt trips, the silent treatment, the sudden affection after criticism, none of it surprises them anymore. Their empathy once made them targets, but experience turned that same empathy into armor. They don't fear manipulation now, they recognize it instantly. Every INFJ has a history, moments where they trusted the wrong person, gave too much, or ignored their intuition in the name of kindness. But each lesson left a mark, a pattern they'll never forget. Now, when someone tries the same emotional tactics, the subtle control, the push for reaction, the twisted guilt, the INFJ doesn't fall for it. They feel that familiar pull and step back with quiet certainty, because once you've been drained by manipulation, you never mistake it for love again. They notice the shift immediately, how the tone softens before a demand, how attention appears right after distance, how guilt is disguised as care. They've seen it all, and their intuition doesn't just detect energy, it remembers it. Their mind connects emotional dots faster than logic ever could. And while others are still rationalizing the manipulator's behavior, the INFJ is already disengaging internally, calm, polite, unreachable. Optimism? To manipulators, that composure feels cold. To the INFJ, it's healing. They don't owe anyone their emotional energy, especially those who twist it. What used to confuse them now clarifies everything. They can sense the moment a conversation shifts from sincerity to control, and they stop feeding it. No fight, no explanation, just quiet removal of power. That's what makes them so difficult to manipulate. Their intuition is trained through experience, their empathy is filtered through wisdom, and their boundaries are written in lessons they'll never unlearn. They survive manipulation by understanding its language, and now they speak it fluently. You can't play someone who's already mastered the game, because when the INFJ recognizes the pattern, they don't react. They remember, and remembering is what keeps them free. They use empathy as awareness, not as vulnerability. Empathy used to be their weakness until they learned how to wield it. The INFJ once absorbed everyone's pain like a sponge, mistaking understanding for obligation. They thought feeling deeply meant they had to fix, heal, or carry others' emotions. But time taught them the truth. Empathy isn't about losing yourself in someone else's storm. It's about reading the weather before it hits. Now, their empathy has evolved. It's no longer emotional exposure, it's emotional intelligence. They can step into someone's world without getting trapped in it. When others express anger, sadness, or guilt, the INFJ feels it, but instead of reacting, they analyze. They see the patterns beneath the emotion. They know when pain is genuine and when it's used as control. Their heart feels, but their mind filters. That balance is what makes them unmanipulable. Manipulators mistake empathy for weakness. They assume that if they cry, guilt trip, or play the victim, the INFJ will bend. But that era is over. The INFJ now sees through emotional theater. They don't fall for tears without truth or vulnerability that smells like strategy. Their empathy doesn't make them naive, it makes them aware. Because real empathy isn't blind compassion, it's clear perception. It's being able to sense what someone feels without confusing it for your responsibility. So when someone tries to manipulate them through emotion, the INFJ stays composed. They recognize the tactic, honor the feeling, but refuse to absorb the energy. That quiet emotional boundary disarms every manipulator who depends on chaos to stay in control. Their empathy now functions like radar, scanning, understanding, and protecting. It lets them see people's wounds without taking them on. They can love deeply without losing themselves, care intensely without being consumed. And that's power. Calm, invisible power that manipulators can't decode. What once left them drained now keeps them safe. They don't turn their empathy off, they've just learned how to aim it. It's no longer a door for others to enter, it's a light that reveals what's hidden. And in that light, all manipulation loses its shadow. Because when empathy transforms into awareness, the INFJ stops being an emotional target and starts becoming emotionally untouchable. They mirror people's behavior, revealing true motives effortlessly. INFJs don't expose people through confrontation, they do it through reflection. Without even trying, they become a mirror. When they interact with someone, they subtly reflect that person's tone, emotion, and intent back to them. It's instinct, not manipulation. It's empathy turned analytical. And what happens next is fascinating. People start revealing who they really are. If someone approaches with kindness, the INFJ's warmth amplifies it. But if the energy is false, that same mirroring throws it back distorted, exposing the cracks. Manipulators hate this because their own behavior becomes visible. The fake smile feels awkward, the flattery sounds exaggerated, the control tactics suddenly feel transparent. The INFJ doesn't need to accuse or question, they just let the other person see their reflection, and the truth speaks for itself. They learn this ability from years of observation. As empaths, they naturally adapt to emotional frequencies, but unlike most, the INFJ is aware of it. They can match someone's tone without losing authenticity, creating an almost psychological mirror effect. It's not about imitation, it's about resonance. They show people their own emotional reality, and for the ones hiding behind masks, that's deeply uncomfortable. This mirroring isn't planned, it's a defense mechanism that became a superpower. The INFJ simply responds with the same level of honesty or deception they receive. When met with depth, they go deep. When met with pretense, they stay surface level. The manipulator feels this instant energetic shift and starts to lose balance, realizing their usual tactics don't land the same way. The beauty of this gift is in its subtlety. The INFJ doesn't have to expose anyone verbally, their presence does it. People sense they can't fake around them, even if they don't know why. Their energy demands authenticity. And when faced with that mirror, fake people start tripping over their own contradictions. That's the INFJ's quiet advantage. They don't need to accuse or control, they simply reflect. And reflection is truth, because in front of a mirror that sees through emotion, motives can't hide for long. In the end, manipulators reveal themselves not because the INFJ exposes them, but because they can't stand to face their own reflection. They detach quietly once they sense hidden control. INFJs don't argue when something feels off, they withdraw. The moment they sense manipulation or subtle control, they don't announce it, they don't expose it, they simply start disappearing. Their energy fades, their replies shorten, and their presence becomes ghost-like. That quiet detachment is their ultimate power move. No confrontation, no chaos, just peace reclaimed. Manipulators never see it coming. They think the INFJ's silence means confusion or compliance, but it means calculation. The INFJ has already decoded the pattern, the guilt trips, the emotional hooks, the carefully timed affection. They've seen it before, and this time, they're not staying for the replay. They know that any attempt to reason with control only feeds it, so they stop engaging, calmly, softly, completely. What's haunting is how effortlessly they do it. One day, the manipulator feels in control. The next, they're talking to a wall of stillness. No drama, no goodbye, just emotional distance so powerful it feels like a mirror closing. That's because the INFJ detaches not from anger, but from clarity. Once they see the truth, there's no unseeing it. Once they feel control disguised as care, there's no going back. They understand that manipulation thrives on emotional access. So, the INFJ cuts the connection at its root. Access denied, their quiet exit is their boundary. And though they rarely explain it, the message is loud: you don't get to pull my strings. This confuses manipulators who depend on reaction to maintain dominance. Without it, their tactics lose air, their power deflates, and they're left facing the silence they created. To the INFJ, detachment is self-preservation. They don't seek revenge or exposure, they seek peace. Their absence speaks more truth than confrontation ever could, because walking away without bitterness isn't avoidance, it's mastery. That's why manipulators can't stand losing an INFJ, not because they cared, but because they lost control over someone they never really understood. The INFJ's quiet detachment is the final unspoken lesson. When awareness meets peace, control loses all power. And by the time the manipulator realizes what happened, the INFJ is already gone, lighter, wiser, and untouchable. They forgive, but never forget the emotional blueprint of manipulation. INFJs don't hold grudges, but they remember patterns. When someone hurts them, they don't replay the pain out of bitterness, they study it. Every tone, every tactic, every emotional twist becomes a blueprint etched into their intuition. They forgive easily, but that doesn't mean they forget, because forgiveness, for them, isn't about letting others back in, it's about letting themselves move forward without hate. They've learned that people reveal themselves in patterns, not apologies, so when someone tries to manipulate them again, they instantly recognize the rhythm. The same charm before the control, the same guilt before the demand. It's déjà vu in energy form. They might smile and stay polite, but deep down, they already know exactly what's happening. You can't fool someone who's learned to map emotion like memory. INFJs have what feels like emotional muscle memory. Once they've experienced deceit, they store its frequency, not consciously, instinctively. The next time someone with similar motives approaches, their intuition flares like a silent alarm. It's not suspicion, it's recognition. They can feel manipulation before it even takes shape because they've seen its outline before. Forgiveness, to them, is emotional alchemy. It's how they release resentment without erasing the lesson. They don't need revenge, they need understanding. And that understanding becomes their shield. The very wounds that once made them targets now serve as warnings, invisible markers that guide their trust. Manipulators often mistake this forgiveness for weakness, believing the INFJ will forget, but when they try to repeat the same game, they're met with calm distance instead of empathy. The INFJ's silence says everything. I've seen this before. I'm not falling again. No anger, no closure, just wisdom. That's the paradox of their nature. Their heart stays soft, but their mind stays sharp. They still believe in people, just not in excuses. They can forgive the person, but they never unlearn the pattern. And that's why they're so hard to manipulate twice. Because while others forget what hurt them, the INFJ remembers every emotional fingerprint. And once you've shown yours, they never need to see it again. Their peace and emotional intelligence make them unplayable, the calmest form of power. INFJs don't fight for control, they master themselves. That's what makes them untouchable. Their peace isn't passive, it's practiced. They've felt chaos, betrayal, and emotional storms, and learned how to stay grounded through them all. Their calm isn't naivety, it's earned discipline. And that's exactly what makes manipulators powerless against them, because you can't play someone who no longer needs to win the game. While others chase reactions, the INFJ values regulation. They've turned emotional intelligence into instinct, reading rooms, diffusing tension, and understanding motives faster than words can explain them. They don't just feel energy, they manage it. If someone tries to provoke or confuse them, they don't react, they analyze. Their empathy keeps them kind, but their awareness keeps them sharp. That combination, it's psychological armor wrapped in serenity. People underestimate that stillness. They mistake calm for submission, silence for softness. But what they don't realize is the INFJ's peace is strategy. It's control without effort, power without performance. Their presence alone changes dynamics. Loud personalities lose volume, manipulators lose confidence, and chaos loses momentum in the quiet gravity of an INFJ's composure. Their emotional intelligence allows them to see exactly what others are trying to achieve, the hidden push for validation, the subtle guilt, the invisible power play. They see it, acknowledge it, and let it pass. No confrontation, no reaction, no energy wasted, just quiet mastery. Their peace becomes their language, and that silence unsettles anyone who thrives on manipulation. That's the calmest form of dominance, to be completely aware of what someone is trying to do and still choose not to play. The INFJ doesn't destroy manipulators with rage, they dissolve them with composure. Their peace makes control impossible because it removes the one thing every manipulator needs: emotional access. In the end, that's what makes them unplayable. They don't fight for power, they embody it. And the calm they carry, it's not just silence, it's authority. The kind that doesn't shout, doesn't react, doesn't waver. Because true power isn't about controlling others, it's about never letting them control you. That's the quiet power of the INFJ. They don't win by outsmarting people, they win by outgrowing them. Their intuition protects them, their empathy guides them, and their peace disarms everything false around them. You can't manipulate someone who's mastered both emotion and awareness, because the INFJ's calm isn't weakness, it's their armor. They've learned that true strength doesn't come from control or confrontation, it comes from understanding. The more they evolve, the less reactive they become. They don't seek revenge, they seek balance. They don't play games, they see through them. And that emotional intelligence, that steady, grounded clarity, makes them one of the hardest personalities in the world to deceive. If you've made it this far, you're one of the rare ones who understands that protecting your peace isn't cold, it's wise. It's not indifference, it's evolution. Before you go, make sure to subscribe to Brainy One, where we explore the deep psychology, intuition, and inner strength that make INFJs so quietly powerful. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever sensed someone trying to manipulate you and stayed calm enough to watch it fall apart on its own? Comment calm power below if you've learned that emotional peace isn't surrender, it's your greatest defense.